where are we sitting right now?
Okay, we're sitting at Gallery Momo in Johannesburg, a gallery space that's located in Parktown North. And yeah, it's one of the oldest, one of the most premium, oldest spaces since 2003. Galleries showcasing contemporary African art.
How did you end up here? I mean, what's been your journey to get to this point?
How did I end up here? I started off my career in fashion as a designer. I studied in Durban, spent a couple of years in Durban working for a couple of people, and I had an opportunity to do a TV show for SABC1 back then, and that saw me going to Cape Town working in advertising, and then advertising went back to retail fashion, eventually left again, launched my own clothing line, and worked in the film industry for a little bit in commercials. And then eventually I found myself back, well, in an art gallery space, a non-profit organization. And then MoMA came along, and now I'm here.
What's your role? I mean, what are your responsibilities within the space?
Well, with Gallery MoMA, I'm responsible for operations, is what they call operations management. So it's the day-to-day runnings of the gallery and logistics of making sure that things happen at the right time and when they need to happen. Just basically ensuring a smooth running of the gallery.
And how does a gallery decide on what artists to exhibit within the space? I mean, how is the relationship structured, but also just kind of how do you curate that experience?
Yeah, so that's a very curatorial process. I mean, every gallery has its own kind of mandate of what it is that they're trying to achieve and the kind of art that they're trying to expose or showcase in their gallery spaces. With Gallery MoMA being a contemporary space, we'll always look or be on the lookout for artists that are doing cutting edge work or are exploring narratives that we feel tie in very well with Gallery MoMA's mandate. So, I mean, the founder, Mona Mokoena, when he founded this place, there was an opportunity for a contemporary space in South Africa where all the other galleries were still showing modernist type of art, and so hence the gallery was founded. So we're always looking for African artists in the diaspora who are doing interesting work and that we want to showcase in the space. So it's a whole curatorial process. It's looking at who the artist is, what they're doing, what they're exploring, if it will gain traction in the market also, and that's who we go after.
And who are some of the artists who have been exhibited here?
We have a nice pool of artists that we showcase, and they range, from photographic artists to painters, sculptors. So we show works by artists like Mary Sibande, who's a Joburg-based artist, South African Joburg-based artist, and Ayana V. Jackson, who's from New Jersey but based in Johannesburg, and she deals in photography. Mary does a combination of sculpture and photography, and we have people like Joël Mpado, who's from the Cameroon, who does paintings that are done on aluminium. And we have Jonathan Henson, Jonathan Fremantle. So it's a whole array of artists that we have, Vichwa Bondo, they're all over.
Would they come back, or do you, once you've done kind of an exhibition with them, that's it until they create something new?
So we work on a multitude level. So we have artists that we represent solely. They are signed with Gallery MoMA, so we are their main gallery that represents them. So they're scheduled for a show periodically with the gallery, depending on how we're managing that artist's career, because you find that artists are showing in South Africa, and we have two spaces in South Africa. So we have a space in Cape Town and a space in Johannesburg. So you find that an artist may produce a new body of work which will show in Johannesburg, and if there's a need for it to travel to Cape Town, then that show will travel. But then at the same time, some artists have representation in other parts of the world, or we have galleries that we work with in other parts of the world where you might find some of their work is being shown there. So in managing that process and managing the artist's work and managing the exposure, it all depends. we do sometimes invite artists that we feel, would benefit, or we would also benefit by having relationships with them. So we will invite them for a particular or specific solo show. It may culminate in them signing with us, or it may just be a once-off. But also we run a residency program, which means that we often invite artists that we feel are on the right kind of direction, but also maybe may need a little bit of mentorship or a change of geography to explore new things. So we offer those artists a space where they can come for a period of 3 months and work towards a body of work, which culminate either in a solo show with us in the gallery, or that work can be incorporated into a group show. It all depends on the kind of work that they produce.
So it's so much more than just actually a space.
Yes.
Where you have paintings up.
Exactly. It's not just walls, but also it's what we like to call a family also, because close relationships are built with the artists and with the gallery, and also with the gallery staff.
Because in terms of managing them, I mean, not putting your business out, but I'm assuming you take commission, or there's a management fee related, etc., which is how the space and the business survives.
Yes, I mean, that's how we're able to pay, for the doors to open, and also to pay the staff that ensures that, there is someone to speak to, and there is someone to hang the work on the walls. So all those things we able to fund those through the sales of the artwork, and the artist also gets paid from that.
What about from a kind of consumer or art lover's perspective? For example, say I'm a first time buyer, or I'm a first time kind of consumer or lover of the arts, and I'm looking to buy my first piece. Would you help me in that process?
Certainly, and that's what we're here for. For me, I always say you have different levels of consumers. You have consumers who are very, very, very well read in what it is that they're trying to acquire, and you have consumers who are first-time buyers. But my biggest advice that I always say to people, as with anything, is that buy the things that make you happy. If you walk into a gallery and you see something that you like and is within your budget, then it's best to go with that instinct to buy it at that point, and not overthink it. You have buyers that buy for investment purposes, and those are people who've been in the game a little bit longer, so they understand how the art world and how the art market works, and they have the relationships to be able to either acquire stuff and put it in the secondary market where they're able to sell it off for a profit. But also it's them understanding the artist and the artist's work, and exactly which channels to actually push that work through. So there are many levels, but my advice to any person that walks through the door as a first-time buyer, I always say, if it talks to you, if it speaks to you, and I know it sounds very airy-fairy and very arty to say if it speaks to you.
Because it's weird. I mean, I guess initially we were kind of taught not to trust our instincts. And now we're going the reverse, where we're saying, actually, trust your instincts.
Trust your instinct.
But if you've been told, you've been told that this is a particular space and operates a particular way for long enough, you start to lose a little faith in your intuition and your instincts.
Well, I would assume that anyone who is at a level where they have disposable income to say, I actually just want to buy some art, has had some level of intuition that guided them to that level where they've achieved success. So I would keep going with that intuition when you're buying art. Yeah, a pair of Manolo Blahniks could talk to you as you're walking past, Gucci loafers could talk to you. But I mean, art is one of those things, if you're buying art and you want to live with it in your home, buy the things that make you happy and you're able to live with. Some people buy and put in storage until the right time for that artist. I mean, that could take 50 years, and the artist dies and is worth a lot of money, but you really didn't like the piece anyway, so you never actually enjoyed any value of it.
And you didn't really, I mean, how do you then predict that? For example, you're saying from an investment perspective, it's understanding, but isn't there a risk to it as well?
I wish we had the actuarial formula for buying art and investing, but it doesn't exist. It really, really doesn't exist. I mean, It's a combination of things: political climate, social and economic climate. It is the artist, where the artist's life goes and where their work goes. Hence I say your intuition and good advice. Some people are able to spot an artist, like, for instance, with an artist like Mary Sibande, when she was only finishing her degree when she was spotted by Muna, and Muna had a lot of faith in her work. And she has gone on to produce really amazing work. And people who have bought into her work earlier on now can pat themselves on the shoulder because the artist's career has taken off and is still going places.
Isn't she the artist that created that mural? There was a mural in town. I don't know if it was her.
There was a time when Mary was involved in a project with the city where they did dress a lot of buildings around, and there were a lot of billboards. But her most iconic work is of a figure called Queen Sophie, or Sophie, in the proverbial blue dress and apron, denoting a maid. And so that's part of her most iconic work. It's since then gradually grown into other narratives, but still referencing that same figure. So, she's been written about quite a lot, and, her work has social impact. And so also economically, it's gained a lot of value in the time that she's been practicing as an artist.
How has the art world fared, particularly the last couple of years? And I ask this because it seems we've become very surface about a lot of things. If you look at things like social media, if you look at the way the world that we've created and we've structured, it feels very surface. And how has the art world fared, particularly in this country, taking that into consideration?
Well, with South Africa, it's a very unique market in the sense that as much as we have created a very surface environment and interaction, there's also a movement that is craving and wanting genuine and authentic product. And there's nothing that feels great than holding something that is well crafted and well put together and that is authentic in your hand, and knowing that you are maybe one of the very few people in the world who has it. In South Africa, we're quite fortunate because we've got a mix of it's a mix. The market is quite a mix. You have people that go after original product, genuine product, and you have people also who operate on that surface level. And also because South Africa has experienced an economic boom and a slump, in the last 20 years. So you've seen a lot of people make money and are able to get into the market and buy art, and then you see a lot of people lose money and then they're selling off art. So we also start seeing what has been kept, from previous.
For a while, yes.
Exactly, and now coming back into the market. And that's why the auction houses are very, very interesting to keep afloat in terms of, what is coming onto the market, what are people buying, and what it's going for, and what people are willing to put behind.
And from an artist perspective, would you say there's a bit more, with the increased attention, like a bit more support? The artist has always been seen, and it doesn't matter, across every genre, the artists or art form, the artists have always been seen as kind of society's martyr. There's a couple that will rise to the top and be extremely successful, but for everybody else, it's a hard slog.
I always say, the artist's job is to do their job as the artist. We all want to be successful, but then if you want certain guaranteed success, go into a vocation or into a career where you are robotic and you sit and you get told what to do and you do it, and then you produce results and you get rewarded. The artist's job, yes, I hate the word martyr because I don't believe that artists should go unrewarded for their work, but the artist's job is to do their work, to be an artist. First of all, an artist needs to understand why they're doing what they're doing. Until an artist gets to a point where they understand what is it that makes them or has given them the ability to be able to capture things in a certain way through the camera lens, or to be able to sit and paint and be able to translate or to capture things that are happening around them and to be able to address those messages through their work or their medium, then I don't think success can be achieved. Yes, you can do art for commercial purposes, but you might as well work for Hallmark and produce greeting cards. And that's not what collectors are buying. Collectors are buying true authenticity. They're buying a unique voice. It's the same thing as in fashion. Anyone can make a t-shirt and put a print on it and have a brand. But there's a reason why there's certain labels that have become very, very successful, and because of the craftsmanship. It's the amount of detail that gets put into it. It's about telling us as consumers in terms of reflecting on where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. And that's what art is. It's a lens in which we're able to capture our history as human beings. And if you have an artist that has a point of view about who we are as humanity, and those are the artists that I think always tend to kind of do very, very, very well. I mean, to speak about, if we go back to classic art, what made people like Leonardo da Vinci very, very popular, and what made people like Van Gogh very, very popular, if you look at their work, it has a feeling, and it expresses something that they were going through and how they interpreted the world around them. I mean, Da Vinci's work also did push science to a certain direction. So hence, artists, especially artists who are educated and not necessarily just talented, are able to channel all of that. It's the same thing as in music. An artist can put beats together saying, but is your music really authentic? Are people able to relate to it? And the music that people are able to relate to, either it moves them just to dance or to dream, is the one that does very, very well in the market.
Because, I mean, like you're saying, it is about being rooted in, rooted in the human experience, rooted in the society, rooted in the community, and being able to reflect and contextualize to a certain extent. It's one of my favorite words, but literally contextualize how I feel, the life I'm living, what I experience, in a way that is, in a way that is more, I guess, more emotional. I mean, I tend to find that there's certain pieces you kind of stand in front of it, and you and I could stand in front of the same piece, but there's something about it. There's something about that one, and if you asked me, I couldn't explain to you it's because of the brush strokes or because of that note, but there's just something about it that connects with my experience.
And we all take away different things, and that stems from our experiences. It's like, I look at yellow, I look at the color yellow, and it's a certain shade of yellow that makes me feel a certain tinge of happiness. And there could be a certain tinge of yellow that makes me feel mortified, and it all stems from our experience. And hence, if the artist is authentic in his execution, then the message will reverberate to any viewer or any consumer. And that's what makes artists successful. I will go back to someone like Mary Sibande once again. I mean, in the narrative of this country, we know what a domestic worker looks like. We know that their stories are not told. We know that they're unsung heroes of our daily lives. And I think that resonated with a lot of people, and hence we wanted to put value behind those stories, and hence she has become such a noteworthy artist. Someone like Ayanna Jackson, who references the use of photography in the turn of the century and how African people or black bodies were depicted in photography, not necessarily having a say in the final narrative that will be depicted in those photographs. So people came, took photographs, took them back to wherever, and said, here is how the people live, but is it truly authentic? So she addresses all of those things, and we're in a time of an awakening where we are starting to question history, question where we're going, where we've been, and so those narratives actually have value. And we want to be able to capture and to be able to, and any collector wants to own that piece of equity right now. And so hence that makes artists who are successful being authentic.
Okay. And just to close off, and this is more from a kind of practicality perspective, how would one go about actually purchasing a piece? So would I walk in here and go, I want that one, it costs X amount of money, here's the money, is there some kind of payment? I mean, I was reading recently about an organization that now has structured payment plans for the purchase of art.
It's all it's all relative. there are people who are able to walk in here and say, I want that piece that's hanging over there, and they make that decision right then and then, and we're able to process the transaction at that time. There are people who come in and there'll be negotiation for a period of time. They have to think about it, they have to make sure that they have the right amount of funds, and you know what, we are a space where we are open, and one can say, you know what, I really want this piece, this is how much I have available, and we're able to enter into a relationship or a negotiation to ensure that ideally, you know, we would like to have the money so the artist can get paid immediately, but you know, that some people also, you know, you can see that the relationship is going to go far with them, so you nurture it.
Because
So
in
that's
essence,
all
you are, I guess we all are, but you are really kind of relationship builders, and it's about building trust with both sides.
Exactly.
It's about building trust with the artist, but also building trust with the consumer. Because I guess generally as a consumer, if once I've bought my first piece, I'm not going to buy just one piece and that's it.
Once you buy your first piece and you're very happy with it, there's a trust level that is created that you will come back and you say, hey, Odysseus, I'm very happy with what I bought. I have some money. I would like to buy a second piece. What do you advise? You know, so the gallery invests in the artist, invests in the buyer also, and it's a vice versa situation where the consumer invests in the art, and also the consumer, by buying the art, you're investing in the artist and the growth of the artist also. So we're all taking chances on each other.